It's said at the moment that in the West, too many of us are spending money we don't have on things we don't want in order to impress people we don't like. And yet we know that living on the surface in this way doesn't feel like life. And many of us are looking for distilled experience, for wisdom, for a better way of living. In this series at St. Paul's, I interview a group of respected people of our day about what they believe are the things that really matter, the things we need to attend to before the end of our lives when we perhaps wish that we had. Today I'm delighted to interview Doreen Lawrence, the mother of Stephen, who was murdered in a racist attack on the streets of London in 1993. Since that tragedy and the pain that continues, Doreen has worked tirelessly and with great dignity for police reform, against racism, and in the founding of the Stephen Lawrence Trust, ensuring that young people are taken seriously and given the right opportunities. She was made a life peer last year and was recently voted the most powerful woman in Britain because of her resilience and her focus. I talked to her about what she believes are the things that really matter. Doreen, you've had a lot of pain in your life, a lot of public pain, and it continues in an appalling way. When you look back and when you look into your heart, do you see that pain as waste, or can something come out of it?
I think something has come out of it, even though it's still very painful. I think the changes that's happened, Stephen's name has brought about so many changes and positive things has come out of it. It has helped so many other young people, because I think it sounds really bad, without his death, a lot of what we do, or what the Trust do, would never have happened, because my life would have taken a completely different direction. And so the sacrifice that Stephen's life has caused has been very beneficial for a lot of people and for the country as a whole.
And pain can often be, not always, but can often be distilling. What now do you consider to be the things that really matter?
I think my grandchildren, and even my children, as my children were growing up, you tend just to your daily life, you move around and you don't even think about it, it's just something that you do. And when Stephen died, one of the things that I really began to focus on, the importance of life and the importance of making sure that those around you know that you do care, know that you do love them, and it's something that you should always demonstrate and tell them. As I say, life was just life, but the reality is that life is so precious and we need to make more of it.
And family and relationships are important, but what do you see then as the greatest threat to that today?
It's the unknown. I think it's the unknown. For me, I suppose I look at people and always think really good of everybody, and I don't think bad. But there's occasion when things happen or people say something, and you think, well, I didn't know you thought like that. I didn't know you had those feelings. And so it's the unknown. I think that's the more fearful thing for me. Has
your view of humanity gone up or gone down through the last 20 years?
It depends. I think when you look at the response I get from people, when anything comes up in the news, I'll get a letter from somebody who will say to me, I'm an 80-odd-year-old woman, I'm a white woman, and I'm really sorry that you're going through. And yes, that's quite touching. And then you'll have something that come up on your Facebook page or whatever, on Twitter, threatening. And so you have that balance all the time. But I think on the whole, I think people are, how can I say, I think the majority of people are really genuine, they really care about each other. And I think that's what I hold on to. Otherwise, what else is there?
So how do we take on and defeat the threats?
Very difficult. Because we have to start with the young and always show them the difference and always show them love I think sometimes either whatever it is through a young person's life growing up, they may not have had that. And so as they grow and get older, whatever it is that caused them the pain, and they just want to lash out at others. So it's to show young people love as they grow and show them the care and affection that you can have for each other. It doesn't matter where you're from, who you are. It's just to have that and show them that.
Do you feel that young people today have a strong enough sense of being lovable? I mean, how do we show people they are lovable?
I suppose in many ways, and especially now in this climate, because I think there's so many stress that happens for parents and young people. And so I think that is really difficult. But I think if we try to open our heart, and I think people within government, they need to start showing a little bit more. Because I think sometimes you hear people say, well, nobody cares about me, nobody don't care that we're suffering or what the financial situation is. I just feel that sometimes, especially people within a position that they can make a difference, that they need to be more conscious of what their actions are doing. Otherwise, humanity is something so fragile. And we need to really take notice of that.
And you mentioned government. Of course, you're now in government and part of the Lords. What are you hoping to achieve there?
I think to be the voice, because I think sometimes when you're outside looking in and you feel as if you don't have any power, I want to be able to help and support as much as I can to be that voice, because I felt since Stephen's death I've been his voice all the time, just making sure that the justice happened around him and also for others. And so one of my things I've said to people, I want to be able to challenge things when I see and to speak out rather than keeping quiet and just think I'm just there as a privilege just to sit on the red chair, the red bench. I don't think that's the reason why I'm there.
Can you give us an example at the moment of something you really want to challenge and change?
Well, yesterday I spoke up, because I'm very nervous at the moment because I'm still very new in the House of Lords. So there was questions around the reputation of the police. And so I spoke out yesterday and think that there's a lot of change that needs to happen. And sometimes we have to accept when things are wrong. And I think unless you accept those wrong, then how do you change that? How do you move on? And that's one of the things I was trying to say, that we need, as a British society, the police need to look at how they change their actions so it's beneficial and to gain that trust and confidence back in the force.
You mentioned the word fragility. Human beings being fragile and relationships being fragile and precious and need preserving. All the fragility and all the change that you've undergone and the world is undergoing, your Christian faith, has that been an important thing for you to hold on to?
Definitely so, definitely so. When Stephen died, I did question, why wasn't God or Jesus there looking after him? Why wasn't he there keeping an eye? And it took me a while to get back to where I was before in the trust of the Lord. And so now, for me, I think without that trust and without that, I don't know, what you feel inside, it helps you to get up, it helps you to go outside. And I always say, with God's help, that's the only way I think I've carried on. I don't think I did it on my own. I don't think I get up every day and think, okay, I can, anything thrown at me, I can deal with it. No, I think with the help of God, I think that's how come I've managed to hopefully stay sane in all of this.
And I think at the moment, I don't know if you agree, but I think at the moment that a lot of younger people are looking for people and places that might offer wisdom, because there's so much change and so much distraction, and I think there are people like you who offer hope and to whom people turn. If you had one thing that you just wanted to pass on now to the young people of this country, what would it be? What would you want to say?
I think to believe in yourself. I think sometimes things can distract you from what your path or where you think your path should be. And I think that you need to have that strength to know right from wrong. And I think sometimes also going back to the Bible, because I think there's so many stories in there that you can gain the strength from. So I think that's what I probably like to say to young people. Go back to the Bible, look and see and read what's there, because there's so many things about everyday life that you think it's something that's happened over 200 years ago, 2,000 years ago. It's still relevant today. So I think that's what I'd like to say.
Over at the Tate, not very far from where we are, there's a portrait by Chris Sofili called No Woman, No Cry, of you, and each tear that's coming down the cheek is a little portrait of your son. And it strikes me as I listen to you that, you know, the tears of your life and the distillation that they've brought have made the woman that we so admire and learn so much from. And we know that admiration is never going to replace Stephen. But we want you to know it is nationwide and it's very deep. And Doreen, thank you very much for speaking with me today.
Okay, thank you.